You wake up every day angry.
Sebastian, he is...
Like to say to whoever has my children that they please.
We just hoping that he...
Functioning autistic.
Happy and alive.
Wherever you are, just know that we are not going to stop.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
My name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist. Come on in. Everything I'm sharing with you is my opinion. So I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects, and share with you how to do the same thing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and join the Reporter Room family. Today, we're going to be talking about the Sebastian Rogers case because this story does not add up. In my opinion, Katie Proudfoot has a change of story from her first interview that she did with Chronicles of Olivia to her second interview. So in Katie's original interview with Chronicles of Olivia, she talks about looking through the house. And she doesn't go outside to search for him, but she's panicked after she searches the house for 1 minute flat. I think this is very unusual. I don't understand why you would be panicked about a 15-year-old if you don't see them for 1 minute. She wasn't panicked when she was on the phone call with Chris Proudfoot for 3 hours. She even heard a thud, according to Katie, and that didn't send her into a panic. So what sent her into a panic after just 1 minute flat? These are her words on Chronicles of Olivia's great interview that she did versus the night before when she heard a thud. And then we found out in the second interview that she did that she actually was on the phone with Chris Proudfoot while she's searching the house for Sebastian, and he was telling her where to search, which again, I find just absolutely interesting that we have this change of story.
Immediately just started, did you check here? Did you check there? Did you look here? And I ran through the house. And at that point, I was hysterical, for lack of a word. And
why is she hysterical at this point? She hasn't looked outside. And her story has now changed. We know she called Chris Proudfoot right after she goes in the room. Why is she hysterical already? You wouldn't be hysterical at that point. I wouldn't be. It's a 15-year-old. Unless you knew what that thud was. If we can even believe that. Let's continue on together, shall we? Let's continue on.
We three-wayed the police, and I'm within minutes they were here. I couldn't tell you exactly how long. I know it was fast. And we haven't found him.
When I got the phone call that he was missing, like she said, we asked questions like, where's he at? Check this, check that. And then we called the sheriff's department. I called the sheriff's department. I stayed on the phone.
And we go back to Peter Hyatt. Why is Chris calling the sheriff's department? Why isn't Katie calling the sheriff's department? And let's also consider what Seth got. He got this bizarre message from Chris Proudfoot telling him, don't be upset, but Sebastian's missing. That's just a really weird way. Don't be upset. Of course he's going to be upset.
Phone pretty much most of the time. And then while I was at work, I asked for a relief. Got a relief, got in my truck from Memphis and made my way to Nashville.
Wanted to make sure everybody knew. He was in Memphis and made his way to Nashville. Just wanted to get that alibi in there. I love this interviewer, by the way. I just think she's doing such a great job. This is Caitlin Miller from Fox 17 out of Nashville. She does such a good job. It's such a shame that she was unable to get them on camera. And I think, again, it's so suspicious that they're not going on camera. They're refusing to go on camera. And then Katie's talking about how you would feel, not how she felt, how you would feel. And then the story changed from the Chronicles of Olivia interview to this interview. Suddenly, now Chris Proudfoot's on the phone with her, telling her where to search. I believe that's very possible. But why is she going into a panic as soon as she hears that Sebastian is missing? Or as soon as she doesn't see him in his room? Sorry, I misphrased that. Why is she going into a panic as soon as he's 15? Maybe he's in the bathroom. And then all of the red flags of the fact that we have a step parent in the house that has CPS issues prior to this with Faith, but also we found out from Seth multiple CPS issues in relation to the Proudfoot's home with Sebastian, where he was living and should have been safe and was residing. We have the red flags of both Chris and Katie Proudfoot moving out and just leaving the house completely. Who does something like that? Who leaves their house? What mother leaves their house with a missing child, unless you think or believe he cannot be found, to go camping? Did Katie make a choice between Chris Proudfoot and Sebastian? In my opinion, she made a choice repeatedly. She repeatedly chose Chris over Sebastian. She chose Chris over Sebastian when she didn't stand up for him after CPS came to the house. She chose Chris over Sebastian when she allowed Chris to spray him with that power sprayer and call him the R word and not advocate for Sebastian or tell Chris to stop it. And we have neighbors who provided this to law enforcement, video footage. That's what we're hearing, allegedly. But not one word that Katie tried to intervene or help Sebastian. I think it's very odd, too, that Katie says she put Sebastian to bed at 9 o'clock, right? She put him to bed at 9 p.m. Who is putting a 15-year-old to bed at 9 p.m.? You might say go to bed, but you wouldn't be tucking them in at 15, would you? But yet she doesn't know what he had on during the interview where, Chris is rubbing her hand. She's rubbing Chris Proudfoot's hands over and over, but she cannot say what Sebastian was wearing. I think that's odd. If you put him to bed, wouldn't you know what he had on? I don't think she put him to bed. And I think the fact that she needs to tell us that he told her that he loved her is interesting. To me, it's another red flag. It's a way to try to say, this is what a good mother I am. And the other thing I found interesting is what wasn't said, which is Katie never tells us that she said it back. And then when she's asked in the interview about how she was feeling, she changes her language and she said how you would feel, talking about the interviewer, not herself and her own feelings, which makes me very, very worried for what happened to Sebastian. So Katie was home alone, according to her, with Sebastian. She's on the phone with Chris Proudfoot for over 3 hours. Why not, if she heard a thud and she thought it was weird and she has a special needs child, one that she has to put to bed, she has to tuck him in, why wouldn't she have gone to check out what the thud was? At least turned an outdoor light on. Because according to Katie, the house was dark, except for the garden lights. And then Chris hastily chimes in, oh yes, but the garage lights always stay on. I know people have said, please don't talk about Chris and Katie, but I think we do need to understand the dynamics of what was going on in the Proudfoot home to understand if Sebastian really did run away or if something more nefarious happened. If it was an abduction by a stranger, then, did he have access to the internet? Why hasn't law enforcement returned his laptop? If Sebastian ran away that night, what was said on the phone with Chris and Katie Proudfoot that made Sebastian feel like he had to run away? That he ran out of the house with no shoes on, without his cell phone, without his medicine, without a coat in February. Was there scapegoating going on in this household? It certainly sounds like it from the neighbor's description of Chris calling him the R word. It sounds like it from Chris's own description and using a belt because he lied. Chris has lied. He lied about the lie detector, telling Nancy Grace he was going to take it and not showing up. So was there an advantage to anyone to have Sebastian simply disappear? Was there life insurance? Was there an upcoming custody case? Oh, I don't know the answer to the life insurance. I do know that there was an upcoming custody case where Chris Proudfoot wanted to get Faith away from Nina Gomez. Was that a motive? They were willing to give up Sebastian for Faith. We've seen Chris Proudfoot's behaviors firsthand. We've all witnessed the recorded phone call that was released between the PIs, Justice Warriors, Heather and Tracy. I think he was talking to Heather and Chris Proudfoot when he didn't know he was being recorded. So we need to talk about motive, means, and opportunity here. Because are we looking at a crime or are we just looking at a runaway? Motive. Was there an advantage to one person or possibly two people to get rid of Sebastian? Well, we know Chris Proudfoot did not want Sebastian around Faith. Chris Proudfoot wanted Faith in the house, not Sebastian. And now Seth was willing to take Sebastian, but with CPS being called out more than once to the Proudfoot home, was Chris concerned about what Sebastian might tell Seth? Or what Sebastian might tell CPS when he wasn't standing in the room with him? Was there a motive to not have Sebastian around? Another potential motive could be Katie Proudfoot being willing to make a choice between Sebastian and her marriage to Chris Proudfoot. We know that Chris was anxious to give Sebastian up to Seth, and Katie was on board with this. So it seems like she was perfectly willing to give up Sebastian for Chris. And so I think we have to consider a couple of things, that there would have been a motive. There would have been a motive if CPS was being called out multiple times. And Chris Proudfoot has lied about this to us. He lied to us about the number of times CPS were at the house. So I think it's definitely worth considering motive. Let's talk about means. This would be the ability or tools to do the crime. Seth said that he felt like Katie gave Sebastian too much sleeping medication. Seth knows Katie. Is Seth picking up on something that we're not aware of? Certainly there was the means to do it, especially if we take away Katie's timeline of 10 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. Opportunity. Yes, again, we have to look at the timeline. Because I'm not convinced that Katie told us the truth about the timeline. I'm not convinced that we've heard the full truth about the timeline of what happened. Maybe we have, and I could be wrong. But if we consider that the last proof of life for Sebastian was at the Texas Roadhouse, and that Katie did not call, well, Katie never called the sheriff's office. It was Chris that called, not 911, because Katie was so panicked. She had to call Chris. And Chris had to tell her where to search, according to Katie's second rendition of what happened. But that gives us a window of over 12 hours, which is plenty of time for Chris Proudfoot to have traveled from Memphis to Nashville and back. Or plenty of time for Katie to do whatever Chris told her to do. Or maybe it really did go down like Katie said. And she was on the phone with Chris Proudfoot. She heard a thud. Was it the door slamming? It seems to me that Katie, being home alone in the house and didn't even get up to turn a light on when she heard the thud or check on Sebastian, who she had to put to bed. She put to bed, according to her. She had to put him to bed that night after she gave him the best day ever. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. And please consider joining the Reporter Room family by subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.